Hi, 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 hi. Welcome to another live stream for the weekly horoscope. So, this week is the last week of August, which is crazy to say, but here we are. I'm really excited for the last few months of 2025. They feel a lot better, a lot lighter than all of 2025 has so far. Even with the eclipses, I'm gonna do a probably will do a video here in the near future on the upcoming eclipses that we have because we actually have two new moons in Virgo this year, which I didn't realize. Pretty ironic because last year we had two new moons in, or were they full moons? No, they were full moons. We had two full moons in Capricorn, and this year we have two new moons in Virgo, and one of them is an eclipse. So I've been saying this in most of my videos recently, a lot about our structure, a lot about our systems is changing. And Virgo, to me, at its core, is all about refinement. How can we make things better? And the over exaggerated trait of that is perfectionism, of analysis paralysis and overthinking. But when we really come back into harmony with those characteristics, with that energy, it is truly at its core about refinement, about making things better. And I have my Chiron in Virgo, so I know this energy well. My unconscious moon in astrology is in Virgo, so again, I know this energy well. Um, again, when this energy is too, how do I say it? Too exaggerated, too intense, it can lead to over perfectionism. It can lead to analysis paralysis, overthinking, being overly critical of things, but when we reel that back in and realize Virgo is making things better. It is being of service. It is sharing your gifts with the world. And that's how I see it whenever I do chart readings, especially life purpose chart readings. That has been my specialty for as long as I've been practicing astrology, is helping people with their life purpose. And whenever I see Virgo, prominent Virgo in a chart, I'm like, you're meant to be a healer. You're meant to share your healing gifts with the world. You are meant to share whatever your excitement is, whatever your passion is, whatever your gift is with the world, to be of service. Virgo is about selfless service and serving others, doing it obviously in a way that is an equal give and exchange and doesn't overextend ourselves, which again is one of the shadow sides of Virgo. One of the exaggerated ways it can show up is giving, giving, giving too much to others and not enough to the self, or the opposite end of that spectrum. Virgo in its shadow can be very egotistical, can be very selfish in a way that isn't, can tend towards narcissistic tendencies. But again, we come back to the middle of that energy, and it is about being of service. It is about healing and helping others with your gifts, similar to Cancer energy, but Virgo is earth, mutable earth. So it brings more of that energy to how it serves and how it shows up and shares its energy and healing abilities with the world. It can be a little bit more practical as well. Um, yeah, that's Virgo. We're in Virgo season now, so it is time to kind of reflect on that. How do you want to show up to the world? How do you want to be of service? What needs to change about your life to more so align with that energy? What needs to be refined? Virgo is mutable energy, and mutability is change. It is progress. It is flexibility. So we are kind of in this period of focusing on the changes we need to make in our life, the things we need to refine to make better in order to live more in alignment with our soul's calling and our purpose. This is a time to organize. This is a time to get real clear on your goals and what you want to do. A lot of us are looking for new jobs or creating new jobs. That is this energy, as well as everything else we have going on in the sky. Didn't mean to go on a rant about Virgo energy, but here we are. I feel like this week, and the energy of us moving forward in 2025 is really about picking up the pieces of what we want to take with us into this new beginning, what we want to let go of and leave behind versus what can actually come with us and what needs to come with us in this new beginning that we are building right now. I believe we have made it through the toughest part, the toughest transits of 2025. So congratulations. Like we are coming out the other side of it. There is still, like I said, eclipse season coming up with in the Virgo Pisces axis. So there could be some changes you're still making, but I don't think they're gonna be like all at once, all areas of your life all at once, like May, June, July, and some of August were. So again, I don't see eclipse season as bad. It just means something. It just means intense change. And connected to what your intuition has probably been telling you to change about your life or to move towards for quite some time. And these eclipses happen so that we take action on that and we don't perpetuate stagnancy for ourselves. So that is the energy of this week ahead as we step into September, as we step into the rest of 2025. Okay, I'm going to start with the horoscopes now and get more into the specifics of this upcoming week. So Aries Rising, we start the week off with the moon in your seventh house. There could be an emotional focus on relationships, but it could add some tension to what you've been changing or what you've been needing to commit to as it relates to your sense of self, your identity, and maybe what has been changing there. The moon in Libra on Monday will also harmonize with Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius. In your third and 11th houses, maybe solidifying some change or transformation as it relates to your community, where you're going on a daily basis, who you're talking to, things like that. Then on Tuesday, the moon moves over Mars. There could maybe be some emotional turmoil, or maybe this is an emotional drive towards something new or to take action on within your relationships. But this could also be some sort of argument or tension, challenge, conflict with someone in your life, maybe related to somebody that you live with or your family or your home in some way. We have Venus and Leo now in your fifth house. So this is the energy for really putting your passions and things that you've maybe been putting on the back burner creatively, taking action towards that. The emotional focus on Wednesday may add some challenge or tension to what you've been doing creatively, but that's kind of like a mood, and it's not going to last. Overall, the next 2 to 3 weeks is really a big focus on what are you doing creatively, how are you sharing yourself with the world, maybe how you're showing up on social media. There might be some tension that gets added to that as we get into the week, as well as Venus will be opposite Pluto too. Then as we get into Thursday, the moon harmonizes with the North Node in your 12th house, Jupiter in your 4th. So there could be some emotional breakthrough or transformation as it relates to some deep subconscious wound or belief system that you've been dealing with, maybe from childhood or maybe from your family, or something related to home in some way. It does feel like there could be an emotional release that is positive for you on Thursday. As we head into Friday, the moon is going to challenge Mercury in your fifth house. So there could be some emotional tension or conflict between your resources, maybe debt, taxes, inheritance, anything like that, anything having to do with other people's stuff, and how you're expressing yourself creatively. That could maybe affect your finances temporarily as well, or be an emotional drive to get more clear on what you want to change about your resources and your finances to have more to work with, maybe again related to that creative pursuit that you're stepping into. Then as we get into the weekend, on Saturday, we have the moon moving into Sagittarius in your ninth house, opposite Uranus. This could propel you into some big emotional shift as it relates to your perspective of life, your belief systems, how you're viewing everything around you, and the story you're telling yourself that is creating your reality. There could be an emotional shift through some sort of tension or chaos that propels you to kind of look at things deeper within your mindset and how that is affecting how you move through and create in your life. Then as we get into Sunday, the moon continues to move through Sagittarius in your ninth house. Again, you could get more clarity on what that mindset shift is and really kind of seeing life through a new lens. The moon on Sunday is going to challenge the north and south nodes. So there could be, again, some big release around that so that you move in a new direction, maybe related to your physical health or your work, your daily routine, maybe incorporating something new into your daily routine to help support this change in your mindset. And that is the week ahead for you, Aries. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Taurus rising. We start the week off with the moon in your sixth house, opposite Saturn and Neptune in your 12th. This could provide some emotional clarity around your routine, your day to day, maybe related to your relationships in some way. But it does feel like there's at first some tension on Monday between that and maybe something you're needing to be disciplined with as it relates to like your mental health or your intuition. These past life or old, outdated subconscious cycles and patterns that you're closing out of and moving away from. There could be something emotionally on Monday that adds tension to that, that propels some sort of mm, sudden change or insight. Venus is now in your fourth house, so you could be a lot more focused with that shift on your home, your family life, maybe again on looking at these subconscious patterns and willing them to change. Venus is also opposite Pluto in your, or yeah, Venus is also opposite Pluto now in your 10th house. So there could be something about that that you're realizing you want to bring into your career or you want to bring into what you do for work or your public image in some way. There could also be a positive shift around money or how you're viewing things with money and your finances in general on Monday as well. As we get into Tuesday, the moon moves over Mars. There could maybe be some tension or aggression emotionally between like you, your work, your routines, and kind of maybe where you're needing to go or what you're needing to do. Or you like, oh, this is kind of the energy of like someone being really aggressive or maybe you are suddenly feeling really aggressive with driving or something like that because the moon on Mars is challenging Jupiter in your third house. There could be this energy of like, oh, I need to take care of myself, but I also have to do this thing. And it creates this kind of this emotional frustration, this emotional aggression. So just kind of maybe take it easy on Tuesday. Don't force yourself to do too much. If you can delegate or ask for help, like that's going to really benefit you. As we get into Wednesday, early on Wednesday, the moon's going to be opposite Chiron in your 12th house. So there could be this emotional tension and towards your healing, your subconscious healing, or again, like you're really reflecting on why was I so triggered by that? What is that wound from, and how can I like heal it or nurture it so that it doesn't perpetuate. Later on Wednesday, the moon moves into your seventh house, adding tension to Venus in your fourth and Pluto in your 10th. There could be something within a relationship that kind of challenges your career or challenges your home life in some way. But it also kind of gets you to realize again what needs to be better taken care of as it relates to you. What self care practices or pampering do you need in order to not feel so triggered by what's going on around you? Then, as we get into Thursday, the moon is going to harmonize with Jupiter and the North Node. This could bring about that sudden change and that kind of realization or epiphany around what you need to do differently to take better care of yourself so that this stuff, whatever this stuff is that's coming up for you, doesn't keep perpetuating in the way that it has. As we get into Friday, the moon is going to challenge Mercury in your fourth house. So this could look like a challenging conversation with somebody in your home or your family or a relationship. There is the risk for kind of like emotional tension, emotional conflict or challenges, but I do feel like, again, it's going to propel you to look at things differently and to really heal any residual wounds or triggers that are still there around whatever this thing is for you. Then as we get into the weekend, I do foresee like this sudden kind of shift or breakthrough around whatever's been coming up all week as the moon moves into Sagittarius and it is opposing Uranus in your second house. This could also bring about a shift related to money in some way. This is going to be a first quarter moon on Saturday in Sagittarius, so this could be a big shift around your resources, just viewing things differently as it relates to everything that's come up, and maybe even channeling that into something creative, channeling that into something related to your work or your career or building a business in some way. Then as we get into Sunday, later in the weekend, obviously, the moon's going to challenge the north and south node. So there could be some big release around, again, everything that came up. It's like you have the breakthrough, you understand it logically, and then maybe Sunday there's like an emotional release around whatever it was, and you really feel like this rejuvenation. You really have kind of feel this shift energy around it, like this big shift, and it's like you're moving on from it. So that's the week ahead for you, Taurus. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Gemini Rising. We start the week off with the moon in Libra in your fifth house. It is going to harmonize with Uranus in your first and Pluto in your ninth. So this could be some big shift creatively around what you're doing, maybe working with children in some way, or just like creative passions in general or romance. It feels like there's this big kind of epiphany or this shift in terms of you and how you're viewing life. Like it's this some sort of transformation is supported around all of that. Venus is now in your third house as well. So you might just be feeling more social. You might be feeling, again, more creative on a daily basis. You might just be feeling like going more places, talking to more people, networking, putting yourself out there more in maybe ways that you haven't, and kind of that leading you to really view life differently and starting to believe or really just know that miracles are possible for you again if you kind of lost faith or belief in that at all. Then as we get into Wednesday, the moon's going to move over Mars. Actually, it's going to be on Tuesday. The moon's going to move over Mars in your fifth house. So this could propel, it's challenging Jupiter in your second. This could propel some challenge or conflict around what you're doing creatively and how that's bringing in money for you. This could be like a sudden shift in career or wanting to change up what you're doing to make money and realizing like your creative passions are actually what you want to pursue and make money from, as opposed to maybe what you have been doing for money. So there might be some emotional drive to really change that on Tuesday. Then as we get into Wednesday, the moon is going to oppose Chiron in your 11th house. So there could be some wound or trigger that comes up around relationships or friendships related to what's been going on for you creatively. Then early on Thursday, Wednesday into Thursday, the moon moves into Scorpio in your sixth house, challenges Venus in your third, and challenges Pluto in your ninth. So again, this could be some big breakthrough in terms of what you're doing to make money and really starting to view what you want to do differently. Almost like if you, how do I describe this? Like if you have been working for somebody else, you're starting to see that, oh, I could just start my own business, or oh, I could just do this freelance, or oh, I could just do this. Like I've been doing this for someone else for so long. Why can't I just do it for myself and start my own business and have my own control and freedom over what I'm doing and my time and my energy? It feels like there's this big shift that comes through maybe a lot of emotional frustration at first. But it does bring some positive epiphany into your life in order to change what's happening for you in terms of work, career, how you're making money. That is really the big focus for you right now, Gemini. Is the North Node is in your 10th house. We have the moon going to be moving through your 6th house Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Jupiter's in your 2nd house. So this is harmony between all areas of how you make money and what you do for work and career, and bringing some positive transformation to that, especially on Friday, as the moon is going to harmonize with Jupiter and the North Node. Then as we get into Saturday, the moon is going to challenge Mercury in your third. So this could kind of be some emotional challenge or conflict related to communication, maybe even related to like internal communication, the stories you're telling yourself, your belief systems, how you're communicating, what's happening for you, and the changes you want to make. Again, it's kind of all wrapped into what story are you telling and how is that perpetuating the thing you want or keeping you from it. So there could be some emotional conflict around that that comes up Friday into Saturday. Then as we get later on Saturday and into Sunday, the moon moves into your 7th house. There could be some big shift within your relationships, maybe related to an identity shift that's taking place for you. The moon is also going to harmonize with Venus in your third. So there could, again, be this really big shift of perspective of how you're viewing life, of how you're communicating things. I feel like the moon is doing something. Oh, it's also squaring the sun in your 4th house. So there could be some maybe challenges with home, with organization in your home. That has been a huge focus the last couple weeks. So maybe there's some emotional challenge with somebody in your life and what's going on in your home on Sunday as well. And that's the week ahead for you, Gemini. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Cancer Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 4th house. It's going to harmonize with Uranus in your 12th and Pluto in your 8th, while also being opposite Saturn and Neptune in your 10th. So this could be some tension between your home life, your family life, and what's going on in your career. Maybe something you've started a new venture around in your career, or you're wanting to like start a side hustle, and maybe there's some tension between your actual home or your family and doing that, or and being consistent with it, or something along those lines. But I do feel like it could, the positive is that it could propel you into some sort of emotional transformation as it relates to just viewing things differently and having this kind of like epiphany around whatever this is, related to all of that. Also on Monday, Venus moves into your second house. So this is a good time to be putting yourself out there as it relates to what you're doing for money. I think the Mercury retrograde was a big kind of reevaluation of that or assessment of that so that you could do things differently. And the Venus moving into your second opposing Pluto is kind of going to propel through maybe some tension you into that transformation and that change. Also on Tuesday, we have the moon moving over Mars in your fourth house. This could create some tension in your home, some emotional, maybe aggression with who you live with or your family or something like that, and maybe some pettiness that just kind of comes out of nowhere. So if you need to take a step back, take a step back, because it could really challenge you and maybe even like your self-worth and how you're viewing the people around you as supportive or not. As we get into Wednesday, the moon is going to be opposite Chiron in your 10th. So this could, again, kind of propel some emotional triggers or emotional wounds to be brought up in order for you to see just what there is residual, in order to release or to heal, to work on, to maybe change about how you're approaching it and just viewing it kind of differently. Then as we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your fifth house. It's going to challenge Pluto in your eighth and Venus in your second. So this could be some challenges or conflict between what's going on for you creatively, again, how you're making money. Maybe your values have shifted, or you're just realizing you don't want to do what you've been doing, or you don't want to do it in the way you've been going about it, and you maybe want to bring in more creative spin to it. So there could be some emotional tension between all of that. But I do feel like this keeps coming up from you, Cancer. I'm remembering this as like your previous weeks. Like there's supportive people around you that want to help you with this change, that want to help you with this transformation. And the release of this tension on Thursday is Wednesday into Thursday is through the people you have around you. Then as we get into Friday, later on Friday, the moon is going to challenge Mercury in your second. So again, this could be some emotional conflict or challenges between what you're doing creatively or wanting to do and money. Maybe it's like you don't know how much to charge for what you're doing, or maybe there's again kind of a mindset thing to work through around that. Now that we're in Virgo season, the focus is really on, and the illumination is really on your mindset, how you're viewing things, how you're talking about things, especially if you have anything in Virgo in your third house. Like you really manifest through speaking. And so it's really important that you just watch your words and you watch like the story that's going on in your head about everything. That amplifies later on Friday and into Saturday. And then later on Saturday, the moon is going to move into Sagittarius in your sixth house, opposite Uranus and Gemini in your 12th. So this could be a sudden revelation or emotional insight around your work life, your daily routines, and maybe how to take better care of your mental health while balancing all of these changes. The moon is also going to harmonize with Venus in your second, so there could be some revelation or idea around how to make money. Maybe you go on some sort of like vacation or just retreat for the weekend to somewhere that's quiet, somewhere in nature, and you suddenly get this like aha moment of what to do. And it helps you to see all of the challenges as something that propelled you into a positive evolution. So that could maybe even continue into Sunday. And that is your week ahead, Cancer. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Leo rising. We start the week off with the moon in your third house, opposite Saturn and Neptune in your ninth. This could be a big shift through some emotional tension and where you're going, who you're talking to on a daily basis, that maybe shifts like your perspective of life. Like maybe you have this really healing conversation with someone you didn't expect on Monday that kind of changes how you've been viewing things. Also, on Monday, the moon is going to harmonize with Pluto in your 7th and Uranus in your 11th. So, this could also propel you into a positive emotional transformation as it relates to your relationships or your long term goals. Maybe even your friends, your community, again, are there to kind of support you in what's going on. And you just get some like revelations from that. Also on Monday, there's so much going on Monday. I feel like every single Monday, and like it's just jam packed with stuff. Venus is moving into your first house, so this is going to be, kind of coming out of a fog as it relates to your relationships and your values and your self worth and your money. You might just start to feel more abundant, and that attract more abundance to you with this transit for the next 3 or so weeks. On Tuesday, the moon moves over Mars in your third house, and it's going to challenge Jupiter in your 12th. This could really bring up some emotional aggression and challenges between like how do I say this? It's the 12th house, so it's not super obvious, but this is going to bring it to your awareness. I feel like the moon and Mars squaring Jupiter in your 12th is going to bring up something to you that maybe you didn't realize you were doing, or some behavior, some pattern that you'd still been acting from. It may even come out in your communication some way, or it may come out in some argument with somebody and you realize, like, oh shit, actually I was in the wrong, or oh, actually I was still acting from this hurt place or this pattern that I don't want to perpetuate. And you kind of get this clarity through whatever conflict occurs, of what actually was going on. And it's like you came out of a fog and you see it more clearly. That could build into Wednesday as we have the moon opposite Chiron, adding tension emotionally to wounds and triggers that may have been, again, underneath the surface, and you're kind of internally focused on what's going on and what's causing these triggers emotionally, and working on how do I even say this? It's so weird to talk. It's kind of hard to talk about this energy, but it's like you're just more aware of your behavior and how maybe things have triggered you, and you've been acting from that place instead of like a conscious aware place. So this might bring that up in order for you to really get clarity around how that's showing up in your life, and maybe make necessary changes to heal the situation or whatever it is. As we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your 4th house. It challenges Pluto in your 7th and Venus in your 1st. So this could be some conflict challenges between you, your relationships, and what's going on in your home and your family life. There might be some big emotional release or change that you didn't expect that maybe shows up in your career, kind of putting energy into your career and maybe ways you have been neglecting, or getting some answers through your career that kind of helps ease these challenges between you and your relationships in your home. Maybe it might happen unexpectedly as well as we end out this week. On Friday, we have the moon in your 4th house, adding tension and kind of challenging Mercury in your 1st. So this could be some emotional conflict between your home, your family life, and you. Maybe learning how to, again, not communicate from wounds, not communicate from triggers, but from a more healed place. Maybe that is going to take or require some having someone to talk to about this. That's like a neutral third party, maybe a therapist or whatever, something like that. Then that could continue, like that's energy Friday into Saturday. But then later on Saturday, the moon moves into your 5th house opposite Uranus in your 11th. There could be some emotional breakthrough or transformation, maybe through somebody in your life, or some you channel this frustration and these challenges into a creative venture in some way, and it brings about a positive change in terms of kind of working with this energy in a way that actually suits you, or maybe just seeing it as something that is actually beneficial for you, instead of like, oh, I don't want to do this. This is so, why is this happening to me? You really, there's a shift over the weekend of you seeing it differently, and you seeing it as something that needs to happen in order to realign you with what's best for you. So that's the week ahead for you, Leo. Let me know how that resonates, and I will see you next week. Okay, Virgo rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 2nd house, opposite Saturn and Neptune in your 8th. This could add some tension to your resources or your finances, or maybe just like there's something that happens with money that gets you to kind of see things differently, or gets you to kind of realize like, oh, I'm actually in control of this, and I have been the whole time. The moon in your second is also going to harmonize with Pluto in your sixth and Uranus in your 10th. So this could be some kind of sudden, unexpected change within your finances that maybe has started as a mindset shift. Like I feel like every week, Virgo, I'm talking about money with you. So it's almost like there's this big focus on money, and you've been doing the mindset work, you've been doing the subconscious work, or you've been doing what you need to do to shift it, and you might see this harmony, this all of a sudden kind of change around your actual money because of the work that you've been doing. And it could come through again, like your career, your work, your job, anything like that. Also on Monday, Venus moves into your 12th house. It's going to harmonize with Saturn and Neptune in your eighth. So this could be a positive shift in terms of your subconscious and your values, and maybe viewing your worthiness better, bigger. Mm, what's the adjective I want to use? I don't really know, but it's like you're finally seeing your worth, is this energy. And then as we get into Tuesday, the moon is going to move over Mars in your second house. There could maybe be some emotional drive to change something about your finances, maybe related to a challenge or a conflict within your community, your friend group, social media, maybe, or just your long-term visions and goals. Like an example of this is like if you want to buy a house, you're like, okay, I need to set up automatic savings because if it comes down to me, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to like put money aside and never touch it. Like that's, just not how it works. So you're kind of having to like set up these things, like you're emotionally driven to change something in order to feel more expanded with it. There could be also some emotional or some emotional transformation or breakthrough as it relates to your mental and physical health. I feel like there's something else going on. Well, the sun is challenging Uranus in your 10th. So there could be this illumination of you that's maybe challenging a change you want to make or an innovation you want to make in your career. Maybe you're realizing you want to do more stuff for you in your career or kind of reel it back in terms of building your own thing, something like that. Maybe will be a focus of the early week too. Then as we get into Wednesday, the moon is opposite Chiron in your eighth. This could again bring about some trigger or some wound with money or resources or just feeling supported in general, because that's all money is. It's just a form of physical support. So there could be some emotional tension that propels you to look at a wound in a new way in order to heal it and move on from it finally. Um, as we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your third house into Scorpio. It challenges Venus and Pluto in your 12th and 6th. This could propel you, for whatever has happened earlier in the week. It's almost like this big perspective shift is building, and this could bring about some challenges or conflict on Thursday that propel you into that transformation. Um, there also could be maybe traveling that you're doing that helps with this, or just again, like this mindset work, this perspective of life shift that's going to positively support whatever challenges you're facing because it is for your evolution and you're starting to see that it's all happening for a reason to get you where you need to go. Then there could be some emotional shift, breakthrough, revelation around that. As on Friday, the moon is going to harmonize with Jupiter in your 11th and the North Node in your 7th. There could be, I love that that rhymed. There could be some friend or some relationship in your life, or maybe just your community in general, that is supporting these changes. And you're really just starting to kind of open your eyes to it and see it in a new way. But also later on Friday, there could be some emotional tension between how you're voicing yourself and how you're maybe realizing you've been acting or communicating or telling yourself a story from that wounded place instead of where you're going. And it's almost like you realize like, oh, I need to start talking about this thing as if it's already done and as if I'm past it already, even if I'm physically not. Does that make sense? And the transits over the weekend could really support some big shift or innovation around that, as well as on Saturday we have the moon moving into your fourth house opposite Uranus in your 10th. Maybe something that happens within your home or your family supports this emotional shift, as the moon in Sagittarius is also going to harmonize with Saturn and Neptune in your 8th. And then later on Saturday, will harmonize with Venus in your 12th. So that's going to support some kind of revelations about what to do differently in order to have this kind of new life and these changes that you've been wanting for some time. So that's the week I had for you, Virgo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Libra Rising, we start the week off with the moon in your first house on Monday. Venus is moving into your 11th house as well on Monday. The moon is doing a lot on Monday, on Moon Day, which is very funny. It's first going to be opposite Saturn and Neptune and Aries in your 7th. This could be an emotional renewal or some emotional breakthrough around what's been going on between you and relationships. There could also be a big emotional, how do I say that, revelation or breakthrough around you, your sense of self, maybe that has been changing or evolving, and your creativity, as well as how you're viewing life. Like it just feels like this emotional, I think I already said this, emotional renewal or rejuvenation of your energy based around how you're just viewing life. It's like this internal transformation. You did all of the subconscious work, or you looked deeply at what was going on underneath the surface, and you are committed to changing it. And now it's actually changing like your energy. It's changing your life. You're suddenly more magnetic, and people are like giving you more compliments. And it just kind of is this big positive shift. Also, with the sun now in your 12th house, there is an illumination of your subconscious. There is an illumination of what's been going on underneath the surface that maybe you weren't aware of. Maybe you still don't have full awareness around, but it is shifting, even though it seems like you're facing more challenges and conflicts around it than having understanding. It's almost like this trust what's going on behind the scenes, what's unseen in you that is changing, because I don't think you can see all the positives that are coming from this just yet. Okay, on Tuesday, the moon's going to move over Mars, and both will challenge Jupiter in your 10th house. This could be some emotional drive to change something about you, your identity, your sense of self, maybe related to or in conflict and challenge with your career, your public image. It could feel like you want to really expand in a lot of ways in the public space or in your career, but you're called to really focus on you at this time and put more emotional drive and energy into yourself. And that is going to help your career, even if it feels like it's at odds with what's going on in your career. It is going to positively benefit your career in the long run. Then as we get into Wednesday, the moon is opposite Chiron in your 7th. There could be some emotional tension around, again, you, your sense of self, and maybe wounds and triggers that have been coming up within your relationships. It could feel like there's a tug of war between acting in relationships from a wounded place or attracting people who are versions of your past partners in some way, and like where you're headed emotionally, and this kind of, again, this energy of emotional renewal. So it's kind of like, don't get dragged down by the past, like let whatever is be. And again, focus emotionally on what's going on with you. As we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your 2nd house. It's going to challenge Pluto in your 5th and Venus in your 11th. This doesn't feel super cozy. It kind of feels like there's some emotional challenge between a transformation of your creativity or romance, maybe even, and what's going on with social media, with your community, with your friend groups. There could be some emotional challenges and conflict between your possessions, your money, and what's going on in your friendships and dating. It kind of could feel like, oh, there's all this challenge, there's all this tension, but it is propelling you again to evolve in ways that are needed, that are going to benefit you in the long term. On Friday, we have the moon harmonizing with Jupiter in your 10th and the North Node in your 6th. So from whatever came up earlier in the week, there could be this emotional clarity around what you want to do to make money, or a new direction you want to head or have been heading in your work and in your career. And again, that kind of sense of expansion that's happening in your career, you could get some emotional clarity around that on Friday and make more sense and kind of piece more things together that maybe were just kind of floating around in your brain. It's kind of like, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. You get this sort of aha moment. There could be, though, on Friday, this emotional tension and challenge or conflict between your money, your possessions in some way, and what's going on with your friends, what's going on with social media. This could also be the energy of like someone getting really mad at you for no reason or something like that. As we get into the weekend, on Saturday, the moon moves into your third, opposite Uranus in your ninth. This could be more around that perspective shift that's happening within you, that viewing things differently, telling yourself a new story, really working on that patterning, that programming, that maybe kept you stuck for a while and you've broken free from it, and now you're starting to like really see life differently and see that you do have the power to shift your reality. And that's going to kind of solidify over the weekend. So that's the week ahead for you, Libra. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Scorpio Rising. We start the week off with the moon in Libra in your 12th, opposite Saturn, Neptune in your 6th. This could illuminate through some sort of emotional tension, like the subconscious patternings and beliefs that maybe you didn't realize were kind of running the show. This could really propel you into some sort of kind of rebirth. Um, Also on Monday, Venus moves into your 10th house. It's going to harmonize with Saturn and Neptune. So this could be that boost of creativity that maybe you've been seeking or waiting for to happen in order to do what you want to do. It does feel like there's a lot of positive change that's supported, even if it is hard or challenging, or creates unnecessary or unpredicted conflict. It is propelling you to where you need to be and getting you to where you need to go ultimately. On Tuesday, the moon moves over Mars and both challenge Jupiter in your ninth house. So again, this could really propel you into some emotional drive to shift a pattern in your subconscious, or maybe to actually do the hire that coach or hire that subconscious shadow work person or whatever, in order to change how you're viewing life and change how you're viewing everything around you and how it's happening. It feels like there's some block that you want to be aware of, or you want to know how to shift. You want support around, and that this could propel you into that. Especially as we get into Wednesday, and the moon is going to be opposite Chiron in your sixth. This could be some emotional tension around, again, wounds and triggers, and maybe how you've been acting those out unconsciously in your work and in your career, maybe holding you back from things you want to do and keeping you stuck in things that don't support you. It's like, okay, you get the emotional clarity on how to do it differently and realize like what needs to shift in order to heal. As we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your first house. It is going to challenge Venus in your 10th and Pluto in your fourth. But it does feel like support could come through, even though there's challenges and with you and your career and your home. It does feel like there's a supportive person that comes in that you can lean on, or maybe you need to like call somebody that you know is going to support you through these challenges and this conflict. And that could also propel you into some sort of healing and just viewing things differently, viewing things as supporting you instead of holding you back, if that makes sense. It's kind of like you realize everything is divine. Um, and there's some timing happening. There's some divine timing at play. On Friday, the moon harmonizes with the North Node in your fifth and Jupiter in your ninth. Again, this is the energy of propelling you into some sort of mindset shift or a renewal of creativity related to your own personal transformation and emotional renewal that you've kind of been thrown into later in the week. As we get into Saturday, well, also on Friday before Saturday, the moon is going to challenge Mercury in your 10th. So there could be some emotional challenge or conflict between you and what's going on in your career. Maybe this potential to get overly analytical about yourself. Like I was talking about this on my stories recently because I've been launching my business course again. Don't don't overanalyze anything that you post. If you post on social media, if you're a content creator, don't overanalyze it. Just post it and ghost it. And that's kind of this energy. It's like don't let yourself get too much into your head or your feelings about something and how in like just how it wasn't perfect or whatever. Just put it out there. You can always make it better. You can always be better in your next thing or whatever. But you can't be better if you never do it to begin with. Then as we get into the weekend, the moon moves into your second house. There could be a positive shift around your finances, maybe related to your career. If you started to put yourself out there, maybe you have been building a business, like this could be the energy of you getting clients or making your first sale or something like that. It does feel like there's a sudden kind of positive shift that happens within your money. Even if there, again, is some emotional tension that comes up, I do feel like it's just a kind of belief thing. But I do think you'll get that emotional clarity and kind of evolve and grow from that, whatever it is, over the weekend as well. So that's the week ahead for you, Scorpio. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Sagittarius Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 11th house. You could be focused on your relationships, on your community, on your friendships this first half of the week. The moon is going to harmonize with Uranus in your 7th and Pluto in your 3rd. So this could be some positive kind of emotional transformation around a communication or a conversation that you have with somebody else and kind of propels you to see things differently. Also, the moon is going to be opposite Saturn and Neptune in your 5th, so there could, that could add some tension to your creative pursuits or romance in some way, maybe how you've been needing to commit yourself to that. But I do feel like this is going to add some positive boost to other areas of your life, even if it does add tension to this one. On Tuesday, the moon moves over Mars as both challenge Jupiter in your 8th. This could be some emotional drive or I don't want to say friction because it's more like this kind of challenge between expanding in your resources and expanding in maybe your investments or your taxes or what's going on with your finances. You're wanting to expand there, but on Tuesday it feels like there's some challenge or conflict within your community or friend groups or social media that kind of pulls your energy away from your resources or maybe even your own personal transformation and how you need to support yourself through that. It feels like there's an emotional drive in terms of your long-term goals, visions, community, that is kind of temporarily pulls you away from that. But it could propel you into a positive perspective shift, almost kind of like realizing you need to like flow more as opposed to have a plan and a structure for every single second of your day. On Wednesday, the moon is going to be opposite Chiron in your 5th. This could propel some emotional tension around dating, around your creativity. Again, maybe some ways you've been acting out in dating or romance or with your creative passions that are from a wounded, triggered place, and as opposed to like an empowered place. And there might be some emotional tension that kind of propels you into that realization on Wednesday. Then, as we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your 12th house. It's going to challenge Venus in your 9th and Pluto in your 3rd. Again, this could be some big kind of perspective shift, some big philosophy of life shift, starting to view things differently. I mean, with Venus now in your 9th, the focus is on how are you viewing the world around you? How are you, like, what is your perspective? What are you believing to be true about yourself and your life that's creating your reality? That stems from the subconscious. So there could be some challenges or conflict that kind of propel you into growth around that. But I do feel like you might help somebody with that in your work, or you might, if you're a coach or if you work with people one on one, that could give you clarity around something, how to see it differently, to help other people with it, to bring it into your work or into your career in some positive way. Then as we get into Friday, the moon's going to harmonize with Jupiter in your 8th and the North Node in your 4th. This could be some positive emotional transformation around your resources, what's going on deep within you around your roots and feeling supported in general, whether that's with your home, whether that's with money, whether that's with the people around you. It feels like there's this kind of aha moment or revelation around emotionally feeling support from outside of you that stems from how you feel it within you. Does that make sense? Then also on Friday, the moon is going to challenge Mercury in your 9th. So there could be this kind of maybe unseen thing that gets triggered through a conversation with somebody you didn't realize was there. So kind of maybe just take some deep breaths if you do get triggered in a conversation or something like that, instead of acting from that trigger. Like it just kind of feel it, let it move through you, and don't project it. As we get into the weekend, the moon's going to move into your 1st. This is the energy of an emotional renewal of yourself, emotional renewal kind of your life. in general, there could be some big shift within your relationships, or this could someone in your life could put tension on that kind of emotional renewal as well. But it is going to again kind of shift how you're viewing everything and just shift how you're viewing life in general. This could also be you changing something about your career and kind of getting the clarity and the realization to take more steps towards what you're changing, or beginning in your career that's different than what you've been doing before. So that's the week ahead for you, Sagittarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Capricorn Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 10th house, opposite Saturn and Neptune in your fourth. This is going to put the emotional focus on your career, on your public image, how you're being seen, what you're sharing to the world, and how that's building your reputation. Venus is now in your 8th house, so there could be some need to go within in order to change or to get more clarity around your values, your sense of self-worth, and have the kind of psychological transformation that supports where you're headed and how things have changed there for you. Also on Monday, there's so much going on Monday. The moon is harmonizing with Uranus in your 6th and Pluto in your 2nd. There could be some positive change within your finances, your work, your career, again, maybe by something you're doing differently to be seen, or something you just randomly post goes viral and it changes your financial picture, that kind of thing, is likely on Monday as well. But it could maybe come at some tension between your home or your family, and it's kind of like, don't get pulled into what is frustrating or what is creating tension. Like, focus on where the harmony is. Then as we get into Tuesday, the moon moves over Mars in your 10th and challenges Jupiter in your 7th. There could be something in your relationships that maybe is trying to kind of, or has been challenging or trying to pull you away from what's going on in your career. But on Tuesday, the emotional drive is your career. So don't let what's going on within relationships or other people in your life pull you away from this emotional drive. Maybe this renewal of creativity, in terms of your career and how you're being seen. Maybe put your phone on do not disturb if you have to, if people have blown up your phone. On Wednesday, the moon's going to be opposite Chiron in your 10th. Chiron in your 4th. Moon will be in your 10th. This could be some kind of trigger that you realize was there from childhood or from your family, or maybe even like your family line, um, that you realize is still kind of perpetuating through some sort of emotional tension on Wednesday, and you get clarity around it in order to heal it so that it doesn't keep perpetuating in your life and affecting you in ways you don't want. Then as we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your 11th, challenges Venus in your 8th and Pluto in your 2nd. Yeah, there could be some emotional challenges or conflict between what's going on in your money. Maybe something happens with a friend, or something happens within your community or on social media. Or this could also be like, okay, what I'm doing to make money is not supporting where I want to go with my life. And I'm frustrated. Like, I want to buy a house, I want to have a lot more money, and this form of income is not supporting it, kind of thing. But through that conflict, through that challenge, you realize what needs to change, right? And you evolve and you grow, and maybe it propels you into some sort of creative project. Like, if you, an example of this is an extreme example, but if you've been working for corporate and you really love to knit, and you're realizing like, oh, I want to teach people how to knit. I'm going to start a YouTube channel teaching people how to knit because I found this really cool way to knit that I don't see anybody talking about. So I'm going to create a YouTube channel, right? And then that like blows up and you get famous for that or whatever. This again is an extreme example. But and it's like, oh, this brought me way more fulfillment, way more money, and is something I actually like to do, as opposed to clocking in 9 to 5, 5 days a week, right? So that's kind of this energy. It's like you get frustrated, and it changes something about your life, um, that maybe you've been wanting to change about your life for some time. As we get into Friday, the moon's going to harmonize with Jupiter in your 7th and the North Node in your 3rd. That could be like, it's harmony between you feeling emotionally supported in your community, your friends, where you're going on a daily basis, who you're talking to, and maybe somebody mirrors that back to you, that the change you want to make is not crazy, that you quitting your job and starting a YouTube channel is not crazy. It's actually what you should be doing. And like I've seen this for you the whole time. It's like somebody in your life, or maybe multiple people, are kind of mirroring that back to you, that it is something that's going to benefit you. As we get into later on Friday, the moon is going to challenge Mercury in your eighth. So this could bring about this could be emotional challenges and conflict between your mindset around your resources, your mindset around all of these changes that you're kind of being pushed into, and realizing like, okay, if I'm going to make these changes, I need to change the story in my head. I need to kind of talk to myself differently in order to feel really supported in these changes. Then as we get into Saturday, the moon moves into your 12th house. This is going to put the emotional mood and focus on your subconscious and on things that maybe that have been previously hidden from you. There could be some big transformation of your psyche over the weekend, of your inner world, of your subconscious beliefs and patternings that propels and supports this change in your work and your career. So that is the week ahead for you, Capricorn. Let me know how it resonates. Excited for you, and I'll see you next week. All right, Aquarius Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your ninth house in Libra, opposite Saturn and Neptune in your third. This is going to add some emotional tension to how you're viewing life. It's like you're having to be really disciplined lately with where you're going, who you're talking to, really have discernment over all of those things, who you're surrounding yourself with, and the stories that you're telling yourself, being around those people that are kind of, how do I say that, like rippling out into every other area of your life. But that is going to support, maybe some tension there is going to support a change within yourself, and is going to support a change within your creative passions, pursuits, or your dating. Take it as it applies, as the moon is harmonizing with Uranus in your fifth and Pluto in your first. Also on Monday, Venus moves into the seventh house, into Leo. This, you could maybe meet somebody. Uh, you can maybe meet somebody. If you're single, you can maybe meet somebody during this transit. If you're in a relationship, could maybe just be reevaluating it and how to show up differently within each other, or for each other. Because you're going through so much change, you're going through so much transformation, and it's like you kind of have to, that ripples out into everything else in your life, right? You kind of have to reevaluate everything in terms of this new person you're stepping into. So that could be a really big theme as we start the week. On Tuesday, the moon is going to move over Mars in your ninth, and both are going to challenge Jupiter in your sixth. So this could be some tension again between like how you're viewing things, your perspective of everything that's happening, and how you want to change, or how you want to expand and grow, and what you're doing for work or to make money, as well as maybe how you're supporting your physical body, your physical health. There could be some emotional drive to really change your perspective and start with your mind, and that's going to trickle down into the physical that you're doing to change your reality. Does that make sense? But don't let the physical like pull you away from the energetic. Maybe listen to Joe Dispenza if you haven't. I was listening to him on one of my recent drives, and I just love listening to Joe Dispenza. I feel like he alters my whole perspective of life every time I listen to him. So um his interviews are great. On Wednesday, the moon is going to oppose Chiron in your third, so this could again bring up some emotional trigger or wound as it relates to your belief systems, your philosophies of life, maybe even where you're going, who you're talking to on a daily basis. Again, kind of having that discernment of like, okay, this person reminds me of my past, and I just don't want anything to do with that. Or this person actually is like where I want to go, and I'm going to surround myself with more of these types of people. As we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your 10th house, but it is going to challenge Venus in your seventh and Pluto in your first. So there could be some emotional challenge or conflict in your career that kind of puts challenge, some emotional pull in your career that challenges you and challenges your relationship in some way. But I do feel like the release of that comes through your home or your family, maybe calling up a family member, or doing something like self-care within your home to kind of deal with all the challenges that are going on around you. Maybe having making yourself a spa day, or going to the spa. As we get into the Friday, the moon is going to harmonize with Jupiter in your sixth and the North Node in your second. So this is the energy of that positive change emotionally around how you're making money, what you're doing for your career. You might have, again, like I said earlier in the week, been pulled away from that, but this, over as we get into the weekend, is going to bring you some emotional harmony in general between all of these areas of your life, and you might get some epiphany or realization about how to change what you're doing to make money and what you're doing for work and in your career. But also later on Friday, the moon is going to challenge Mercury in your seventh. So there could be some challenging conversation you have to have with somebody that maybe it could run the risk of getting heated. So just remember to take deep breaths and not act from a triggered place. As we get into the weekend, Saturday, the moon moves into your 11th, opposite Uranus in your 5th. This could be some emotional tension that propels you into some sort of change or innovation with your long-term goals or with your creativity in general. And again, like supports that transformation that you're going through. It's also going to harmonize with Saturn, Neptune in your 3rd, and Venus in your 7th. So you could receive some support through people in your life to help you with this change and to help you with this transition that really feels like a relief. It feels like, oh, this is what I was waiting for, kind of thing. So that's the week ahead for you, Aquarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Pisces rising. We start the week off with the moon in Libra in your 8th, opposite Saturn, Neptune in your 2nd. This feels like some emotional tension between your resources and what's going on with your money. Maybe you're just structuring it differently. Like maybe you're realizing you have to set up some automatic savings kind of thing or something. But it also is going to, the moon is also going to harmonize with Uranus in your 4th and Pluto in your 12th. So this supports some sort of internal transformation in you, some shift emotionally of your subconscious that helps you have the transformation you've maybe been wanting to have or knowing that you are in. It kind of feels like this rise from the ashes energy as we get into the week. Also on Monday, Venus moves into your 6th house, so you're really focused on what you're doing for work creatively and sharing yourself maybe in ways you've been putting off, or it just feels like you're going to be much more creative this week because there's this shift in your energy. As we get into Tuesday, the moon moves over Mars and challenges Jupiter in your 5th. This could be something, some psychological thing is really pulling you away from your creative projects. Or there could be some challenges between what's going on in your subconscious and your ability to create. But there is something emotionally to work through in terms of your subconscious, or again, maybe your resources and how you're organizing everything. It feels like the energy of like a breakthrough, a transformation. As we get into Wednesday, the moon moves into your 9th house. It's going to challenge Venus in your 6th and Pluto in your 12th. So again, this could be some big mindset shift around what you're doing and how you've been stepping into this new identity and direction related to you, your sense of self. Um, the moon is also on, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Hold on. On Thursday, the moon's going to harmonize with Jupiter and the North Node. So this could be like something challenges you on Wednesday that you didn't expect emotionally, but it does propel you into this positive change and maybe this miracle around where you're headed again and what you're doing creatively. It feels like maybe you've contracted your energy, like you've pulled back, and that was for a reason. It was so you could come back stronger than you were before, and you might see that as we have this transit on Thursday, later on Thursday, and into Friday. Then later on Friday, the moon is going to challenge Mercury in your 6th, so there could be some emotional challenges or conflict between how you're sharing yourself, or maybe like with a coworker or somebody you didn't, maybe somebody you saw as a friend, and it turns out they're like not really as much of a friend as you thought. And it kind of triggers you emotionally to kind of just view life differently and to really kind of have more discernment because your intuition was probably telling you this about this person and then it shows itself. And you kind of really get this, oh, that's why my intuition was telling me that moment. But it does build more trust with your inner guidance system. So don't let it get you down for too long. As we get into the weekend, on Saturday, the moon moves into your 10th. This is really good for your career. This is really good for what you're doing for work, for those epiphanies you got, those revelations you got earlier in the week. You might be launching something new or just feeling this creative renewal in terms of what you're doing in your career. Um, and it kind of feels like this big push towards the new. Um, and again, it's related to this renewal of your energy that's kind of been building all week. So that's the week ahead for you, Pisces. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, let me check the comments real quick. I really hope the video isn't as blurry as it's showing me it is on YouTube. Hi, Masha. You just shaved your head after having blue hair? The title of the video resonates. Oh my god, that's awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you all for being here. I appreciate you so much for showing up, whether you're watching the live or the replay. I love you, and I will see you next week. Bye.